E3, EA, holy shit, was that boring.
Oh yeah, it was disappointing to say the least, and that's putting it nicely.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I was hyped for this one. I think theirs and Sony's. I think I was hyped up the most for
Hmm.
because I was figuring we're gonna get Battlefield 1, we're gonna get Star Wars stuff, we're gonna get Titanfall, we were maybe gonna get Dead Space 4. Just I know I'm forgetting a couple games that I thought we were gonna hear about, and I think when the show's all said and done, we didn't hear anything.
No, it was all predictable except for that one. I forget the name of it. That one EA
The
original,
Faye.
Faye, which reminded me of Ori a little bit.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I know we'll get to this when we get to that point because we'll go down the whole show.
Okay.
That's cool that they're doing the originals thing. It's kind of like how Sony came out a few years ago and Microsoft came out last year and said we're going to start supporting more indie devs and stuff. That's cool. More games that get out there, the better. More opportunities for new IPs and stuff like that. That's cool too. But to sit here, that they showed up that big thing and like EA Originals, here we go, and showed one game.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. We can give our full thoughts on that here in a minute.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start at the top of the show because I mean I think we've both already got out the fact that we were disappointed.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
we'll just let's just run down the show and we'll give some final thoughts because and I'm sure I know where we're both going with our final thoughts on this one if
Mhm.
we haven't gotten it already.
Yeah, definitely.
But Titanfall 2, uh I mean, it sucked a little bit. I mean, Vince Sampella, who came out on stage and talked, even said, if you haven't seen the leak trailer this morning, and real quick, they haven't seen the leak trailer, here you go. Everybody kind of laughed. It wasn't a leak trailer. What happened is they were doing their run through for the show this morning, and on their YouTube channel, where they were going to be streaming it also, they accidentally went live. So
Mm.
it wasn't like it was leaked. It wasn't stolen from anybody. They accidentally put it out early. So that's on them. Before anybody goes, oh, who would leak their stuff? No, it was on them.
Yeah,
So,
but it was, it's good that they have a single player component now, which I think, so it won't just be multiplayer, even though that's where the most replayability is. But, it looks good. It looks like they have a little bit more, the combat looks a little bit more refined, some new moves, the grappling hook. But, I just wonder, it's a little after Battlefield, a little before called the new Call of Duty. So I'm just wondering, how is it going to get lost in the multiplayer FPS,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
wars?
you've got Battlefield 1, you got Call of Duty, you got Titanfall 2. They've already shored up next year that they've got Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff coming out. You've got Overwatch that just came out, and I'm pretty confident it's going to have staying power.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Long
that
term.
yeah, it is definitely saturated in the in the market of shooters.
Mm-hmm.
But just for their game themselves, though, like you said, it looks good. Okay, and that wasn't a problem with Titanfall 1. It didn't look bad. It looked great.
Yeah, yeah.
But like you said, no campaign. This one at least does. But gonna start with multiplayer real quick. Multiplayer looked good, but oh my god, how many abilities look like they came out of Overwatch?
Yeah.
I saw, was it Zarya and her big gravity ball,
Mm-hmm.
Tracer's time bomb thing?
Mm-hmm.
It was like I'm looking at it going, wow, this looks like this looks like a futuristic version of Overwatch. Like everybody gets to play Diva, just not in a cute, mech. They get to play it in a more realistic looking mech.
Exactly, exactly. I'm
But
wondering how long the developers were playing the Overwatch alpha and beta to get those ideas.
get all those great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't look bad. I thought it looked interesting. They said what, 6 new mechs or
Mm-hmm.
6 new Titans. I'm sorry, an actual progression system. You got to see those cool chest beams on the Titans, which you saw early in the trailer. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, was that a real ability? Was that computer? What is that? And then later on, you got to see it from the actual point of view of the player, where it had like the 3 locking lasers and then the big, optic beam, Cyclops version laser. So that looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
They said new abilities, new maps. Like that first map they showed looked a little bit more. I don't want to say open world because obviously it's not, but it looked bigger. It looked a little more fleshed out. All the grass and the buildings and stuff. It looked like a real place.
Yeah. Yeah, it did, and it's also another thing to point out. It's coming out on PS4, so that's a new audience for
Yes,
it now.
yes, big plus for that. More people
Yeah,
playing.
but I just hope is the lineage of the developers, from Infinity Ward going back a ways. So I'm sure it's going to be good. Like Titanfall 1, the multiplayer was really good and really solid. So it'll be a good evolution of it. But again, I just hope it doesn't. If it is really good, I hope it just doesn't get lost in the shuffle of the the more established big brands coming out around that time.
Yeah. And something I just thought of that they didn't bring up, and I think the reason they probably didn't bring it up is Microsoft will probably do this tomorrow, is that there was no mention of cross-platform playing, which
Mm.
Microsoft's actually pushing a lot right now. They're trying to really work on it that people playing on the Xbox One get to play against people on their PC.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no mention of that. Maybe Microsoft will bring that up tomorrow, that the servers work the same for the PC and the Microsoft game or Microsoft versions. But that would be better, I think, if they could figure out a way. Because heck, Mortal Kombat X did it. You played against everybody from all the different Xbox Live, PS Network or PS Gold, whatever, PC. They all get to fight each other. Street Fighter V is PS4 and PC playing on the same server. So if they could do that, that'd be great. But no mention. Maybe that'll be tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe if it'll just be an Xbox One PC thing, so it's like their exclusive thing, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and even if it's just those two and not the PS4 tied in, that's still more opportunity if you're playing on one of those two systems to have more people to play with.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Single player campaign. Like I said, he made the joke about the trailer coming out beforehand, but it looks okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Titan being questioned throughout, which all I was picturing was Dragon Age 2, which I'm gonna totally forget the guy's name now. The little dwarf dude is getting questioned throughout like the first half of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not quite it's kind of in the future, but that you catch up to that point, and
Yeah.
or like Witcher 2 did it at first. You're getting questioned at the beginning of it, but I felt like it was that. I was like, this is very much a past tense conversation. I was like, okay, so maybe that's maybe later on in the game, so they're giving some backstory on what's happening. Though it looked kind of interesting, but
Yeah. It'll be nice at least to flesh out the world a little bit, get some backstory and just, instead of just tidbits from, trying to piece things together for multiplayer, it'll give them opportunity to kind of form their world a little bit. But it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, the only thing I was worried about is if you're thrown into the story as the pilot and the Titan, do you get stuck with only playing as how the Titan is laid out to you, I guess? Do you get to change the weapons, the look of it, or is it pretty much just going to be what they designed?
It would be nice if you could do some customization with it. It would, collectibles, maybe you can, find different colors of armor or different weapon upgrades just to add some maybe replayability to the single player campaign. But yeah, it would be just to be in the same thing. It would be, a little too scripted.
Yeah, because, I mean, the first game had 3 different Titans,
Mm-hmm.
and they said there's 6 new ones in here. But if you've got, let's say, so it's 9 now. We'll go with that, because they said 6 new. They didn't say 6 total. So I'm going to say there's 9 Titans. If you only got to play as one in the single player campaign, that would kind of suck.
That would, yeah. Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully they're going to change that up a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say, I like that there's some, and I don't know if it's an ability, but they showed it, the Titan throw the player across that big, chasm, gap, whatever.
Yeah, that's cool.
If that's an actual ability, other than just a cutscene, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be different, something different.
Yeah. And, all right, so moving on to the game they talked about the least, since we're just going in order, which surprising, with how little they talked about a lot of games, Madden. Because if you go back and watch the intro, they showed what's going to be the opening CG to Madden 17, okay? Because they do that every year. The Seahawks have gotten it, and the Patriots have gotten it. They all get, they get that like 5-minute intro you have to sit through when you start playing. They showed that off, and then they didn't show off a damn thing else about Madden.
Yeah, I even wonder why, we'll probably get into FIFA, but everybody knows there's a new one coming out. It's probably the same group of people that are going to buy it. So why waste precious minutes on something where everybody, you're going to buy Madden. I'm going to buy Madden. We've bought Madden for years.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be nothing really revolutionary about it, you know, just adding some more features, refining franchise mode, whatever. But why, you know, what can you really show that's going to make new people buy it?
Yeah. And the big thing every year is that they have to try to do innovative gameplay because they have to give you something different than just a roster update. Mm-hmm. And they made no mention of it whatsoever. You know, they said, oh, we're going to add stuff to franchise. They didn't show anything, though. We're going to add, and this is what we're going to get into next, the competition stuff that they're doing, the new challenge modes that they're doing for all of their games. But they didn't really tie into how that works with Madden. They showed Antonio Brown on screen real quick, but they didn't really explain. They're just like, oh, the pro players can play here, and the new players can play here, and the challenge is here. And it's like, but they didn't really explain much on how that ties into Madden. So it's like, why did you even show the trailer?
Yeah.
Or not even the trailer, the intro.
Yeah, it was a token thing, and, you know, as far as sport games go, you know, it's coming, it's going to be, and for the general, you know, non-football public, I mean, if they can get into the minutia of the new franchise mode or whatever refinements they're making and playing and stuff like that, but you're going to lose people in the conference, so why not just, you know, give us more of what more mainstream people want to play? I mean, Madden's going to come out, it's going to sell great, and, you know.
Yeah, I will say the only thing they did really give us for the new Madden is they did say it's a new commentary team.
That's right, yeah.
So at least we have that because, oh my God, I'm tired of hearing Phil Simms.
Mm-hmm, yes.
God, I hate him in that game. Not a big fan of him in real life, but no.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, and then moving on, then they moved on to their new competition stuff, which was, to me, a big promo for their tournaments. And I think that's almost what the Madden intro was just so they can spend 4 minutes promoting the Madden tournament that happens like tomorrow or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, when you start talking about that stuff and even piggybacking off the esports, I mean, there's a time and a place for that. This is supposed to be where you're showing new products, new content, and, you know, I mean, for the average gamer who can't, you know, compete on that level, I mean, what is it, you know? Yeah, they're doing it, and, you know, best of luck to the people who win the $1 million.
I think they said it was only 50,000 too.
Oh, well, in that case.
Yeah. But yeah, it was so weird. Esports is a thing, but yeah, it has its own time and place, and this isn't one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can talk about how you do the competitions, but you don't need to do a like 3-minute clip where they show those two guys that might play each other.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. I was like, when they talked about it at first and then cut into that clip, I was like, okay, so this is the finals. It's these two guys. And then they came out and said, no, it's actually these 8 people playing. Mm-hmm. Those two may just have a chance of facing in the finals.
Yeah, and they roll them all out on stage, and like, you know, roll athletes out on stage or something like you used to do.
Madden's cover guy is Rob Gronkowski this year. I don't even think they showed the cover for the game.
No, I don't think they did either.
Like, when we did our predictions for E3, I think we all kind of guessed real quick on if Gronk was even going to come out or if he was going to be injured beforehand. They didn't even show the cover with him on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, that was a big way. I think that whole, like, 10-minute segment from the start of them talking about Madden to the end of the competition thing was a big waste.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of big waste, because next up on the list was Mass Effect Andromeda, who, if we go back once again to our EA, or not our EA, but our E3 predictions, but I guess when we talked about EA, or our surprises at the end, my guess on one of the biggest surprises was going to be the plethora of news that we got about Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me know, how correct was I? How much info did we get on Andromeda?
Nostradamus. I mean, I thought we'd get, I mean, because this is really the last big, I mean, this is the last E3 before release. You would at least, I mean, they didn't even come up with a CG story trailer. You know, I mean, do they have something in contracts to show people working on a game at EA?
Oh, I guess. Yeah, because, oh my God, did they show so many dev blogs today.
Yeah, it's just, that's not what people want to see. You know, I mean, you're 6-7 months out now, 8 months out from release. You would hope enough is locked down to, you don't even have to give a demo. Just show some gameplay. Show, you know, more detail what the story is going to be. I mean, this is one of the most anticipated games coming out.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully they've learned from the mistakes of 3, and this is, you know, kind of rebooting it in a way, new characters, but they just, do they not have people in tune enough to know what people want. I mean, give something other than, oh, it's this, this, and this, and show somebody drawing on a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
it was disappointing.
yeah, and this is the big weird thing to me is that I get what they're gonna do. They're gonna show a ton at Gamescom in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I'm sure they'll save some for PAX because all those actually have actual gamers there, which we've talked about before. But still, even without the gamers there, and so I'm gonna actually make 2 points here. Even without the gamers there at E3, this is still a press conference that's going out to the gamers. They know damn good and well that people are going to watch this. But this is also EA Play, which isn't at E3. It's in a hotel down the street. This had players. Players get to go to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't even use the excuse of, oh, it's just the press. But yeah, how can you be, within a year? Because it's supposed to be spring of 2017. How can you be within a year of this game coming out and the best you can show is the artwork that they showed last year, just more fleshed out for a few seconds at a time, a couple new clips, like you saw the Asari woman with the weird Illidan Storm Rage, face paint on, the face guard, the black eye band stuff, like a giant raccoon Asari. And you see her, you see a couple like Krogans and a quick snippets of them moving around, a bunch of the Mako driving in absolutely barren areas. All right, cool. Maybe it's a little more open world, but I'm not going to drive across Tatooine in the Mako for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you got a shot of what I presume is going to be the female antagonist, or protagonist, sorry. And they usually do male and female, and they'll have the big CG intros for both probably. Unless they force you to play female, which I would think is weird.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that.
But so you got your first shot of that, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I mean, like, I literally, like, these are my notes. You would think for Mass Effect Andromeda, I would have a ton of stuff. Aaron Flynn came out talking, confirmed that it's a new home, that it takes place after Mass Effect 3, which they didn't say if they were giving a canon ending or not. He just said, it takes place, they got to go find a new home and expand. More freedom to the players, Frostbite engine, behind the scenes, Asari, creatures, desert planet, Krogan, first female lead. I'm disappointed.
That about sums it up. I mean, one thing I might be a little concerned about if it's really going to come out next spring. I mean, they didn't even say, because I remember it was a couple years ago with Mass Effect 3, they actually gave like a February release date, or they've done that from time to time, and they didn't even give like, March something or other. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, how locked in is that spring release? Because when they announced, weeks ago that they were delaying it to 2017, yeah, it was said that they were shooting for spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that even a thing still? Because, yeah, you would think that even at the end of that clip, it would be like, Mass Effect Andromeda, spring 2017, quarter 2 2017, or something. They had nothing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that, and maybe we'll hear more like at Gamescom or something else. But yeah, that was probably the most disappointing part. Is just I thought there would be a heck of a lot more, and that was just it's just like people working on the game and a couple of, if you want to call them, teasers, but didn't really answer.
Yeah, it was the same. If you went back to last year's E3 and watched their little dev diary that they did, instead of having drawings, just add some animations to it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And I don't know where did they not get enough pushback from doing that for the last few years? I mean, it's great to highlight some of the designers and team that work on it, but that's just, do that on a behind the scenes bonus on the game.
Yeah, well, that usually goes on the website.
Yeah, yeah.
Put it on YouTube. Or if you have to show it at E3, at least give us like a minute or 30-second teaser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
And real quick, my notes in here, after Mass Effect was literally, the switching around is annoying because we got to mention them going back and forth between LA and London.
Oh, yeah.
And hopping around and showing off like different players here and people here and cheering in the audience here and stuff. That was so annoying.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. Or just to get the football manager on, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and perfect segue, because the next game that came up was FIFA 17, which I get. FIFA sells a lot. It is one of, for their sports games, it is one of their best-selling games. It's not big in America. I have nothing against soccer. But why was 15 minutes devoted to FIFA?
Yeah, it's it's like kind of like Madden way. It's gonna sell. It's gonna sell great. They're gonna have some new features every year. You're gonna what they have managers on now, kind of a,
Yeah,
so it's
all the Premier League managers or some of the Premier League managers are going to be in the game.
mhm. But that's something for Gamescom, something a European focused show
Yeah.
that the whether Japanese or Americans aren't as focused. I mean, FIFA's a big thing for them, big IP, and it brings them a lot of money. But it's football, soccer, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's you kick the ball into they can have all these what they have like a career thing like they do on NBA 2K now, where you take
Yeah.
a player through his life or something. It's great, but just
Yeah.
there's
And
other things to.
I do want to touch on that. Okay, the story mode, that's cool. You do realize they showed us more story and more about the single player campaign or any of that stuff than they did for Mass Effect or Titanfall
Or Star Wars, anything.
or any other Star. Basically, if you took all of the games that were in, actually except for Faye, because that looks like single player only. So you take every other game that they had there, and you put all of the game time shown from the single player and compare it to the journey from FIFA 17 for that Alex Hunter guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably about the same length.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest sentiment about this whole entire thing. I think that we can put out there is how disappointed we are in the fact that everything that they had there can literally be summed up in a single player campaign trailer for a soccer game.
Yep. Yep. And they're gonna do fine with FIFA whether they spend 2 seconds on it or 20 minutes on it. That's they're gonna sell it, and it was just maybe they just wind up didn't have anything else to show. Maybe that's why it was so long. I don't know.
Yeah. So next up, Patrick Soderlund came out. The big VP of all of EA or whatever it is. A guy who I know has gotten a lot of ire in the Battlefront community lately when he came out and said, yeah, we basically cut out single player for the first Battlefront because, we wanted to make lots of money. Came out, gave a bunch of, a bunch of updates on kind of where they're going, but also at the same time, they put an update at the bottom of the screen, which they'd done a few times in the show that said Battlefield coming up in 5 minutes. And I laughed that was basically them saying, here, if you're bored and gonna leave, come back in 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yep.
Because
Like,
why else would you?
come
I've
back.
never seen a press conference at E3 ever do that.
Yeah, that's
This
they
isn't
probably
a
knew.
Yeah, this isn't a TV show. They're not having to tease stuff. You know what's coming up. Why the hell do you have to give a time frame?
Yeah. Yes, probably because they knew. They probably knew. Somebody said, hey, on the run through, this is not looking good. Let's just keep the carrot down there for them for what they really want to know about.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to watch this EA Originals part. Come back in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which we'll get into that now because they did bring up EA Originals, which is a plan to help indie devs or people with new ideas, new IPs, whether they're inside the EA umbrella or not, to get out games. That's all well and good. I am happy for that. Microsoft has started doing that. Sony has started doing that. Valve does it on Steam with the Greenlight project. I get all that. That is cool. But when you come out and you say, we are doing this great program, we have tons of games already, let us show you just one.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't put up titles for others. You did all these Dev Diary videos. You couldn't do one that jumped to like 4 different indie studios real quick talking about the games that are coming up.
Yeah, that would have been smart. I mean, because they talk about this big project they have, and they show one game.
Yeah,
even put like you said, a splash screen of a couple of titles, so know there's more there.
yeah. Because didn't Sony do it last year with what was it, Revolver? I think it was Revolver Studios or something, and they showed like 5 different games that they're working on, or 5 different indie games, and showed off like the Revolver game or 2. Why didn't they do that?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't get it. But yeah, one game, and I was kind of thankful in a way because it would have taken up even more time. But
oh god, there would have been less time for Andromeda and Star Wars.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So let's talk about the game then real quick. So Faye, which at first I thought was going to be a real disappointment because the whole entire time he's talking, it's just screenshots. And I was like, oh, if they do this whole thing leading in for the originals program, and this guy comes out and talks for 5 minutes and all they show is screenshots, I'm even going to be more disappointed. Thankfully, this actually got some of the longest gameplay other than FIFA of the whole press conference.
Yeah, it looked good. It looked a little bit like Ori and the Blind Forest, that kind of aesthetic, but it looked good. And, indies really is where you're looking for innovation now. It seems like the big companies are just really into churning out the safer blockbuster titles, and maybe there's, some good gameplay, some new ideas in there. But it did look interesting, and something I'm definitely looking forward to playing.
Yeah, because it looked like the little cub you play as was using like sound wave powers. He was communicating with stuff, lifting up things by making sound, pushing stuff, and all that. So yeah, it looked interesting. The art style, yeah, I think will really tear the community on whether they like it or don't like it. Because whenever you get games kind of like this, where it's a little cartoony, but I don't want to say cell shaded, but it's very dark colors.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had the purple, you had like the darker blue hue and tint to the snow a little bit, and lots of black.
Yeah,
and a lot of people aren't going to like that art style.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Wind Waker syndrome. People may not like it, but does it play well? And does it bring something new?
Yeah, it looked interesting, and like you said, a lot of indie games are kind of where you go now for innovation and changes.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it has something going for it. But it's just sad that this was one of the games that we heard the most about and saw the most during this press conference.
Yes.
Minus FIFA.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And here's the sad part, because we are both big Star Wars fans.
Yes.
I play Battlefront a lot. Well, actually, I should say I haven't played it much, especially since Overwatch came out. But played Battlefront a lot. Have played the Old Republic. Pretty much, I don't think there's a Star Wars game that's come out that I haven't played.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we love the movies, all that stuff. The Star Wars segment was so disappointing and so non-informative that it made me mad at EA for making Star Wars games right now.
Yeah, it's like everything. I mean, we knew all those studios were making games. Like every studio, basically, that they have is working on some kind of Star Wars content. I mean, they showed maybe 4 or 5 seconds of the Amy the Visceral game. They showed a couple of seconds of the PlayStation VR segment that they're doing.
Yeah.
But they showed people playing with lightsabers for motion capture. But there's nothing.
Yeah, there was nothing big. And really, because I already went through, like, as soon as the conference was over, I went back through and watched that part again. And there are hidden things in there that, real quick, though, kind of make you mad that why didn't you just talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool that you hid stuff, but why not just talk about it? Because we'll start with Battlefront, because that was the first one they showed. They showed like the intro shot real quick in Cloud City in Bespin, because that's the next DLC of Lando. Okay, that's all well and good. And then they showed some trench run stuff, which the third DLC is supposed to be Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
They showed Bosk, the Trandoshan bounty hunter, so I'm guessing he's going to be one of the heroes in that one. But they never mention it. It's all stuff you have to look for on the computer screens of these guys working. And that just seems so lame to me. You couldn't... The Bespin DLC comes out in 2 weeks. Okay? They have yet to actually show anything other than like the quick snippets you got in today's clip. They have DLC coming out in 2 weeks and nobody has seen a damn thing about it. You don't know the new modes. You know that, was it like Lando and oh my god, I'm totally going to forget the other bounty hunter's name now. But, the two heroes, you know who they are. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really sad. And the fact that, and the part that really makes me mad with Battlefront is that they can't confirm Bespin DLC that comes out in 2 weeks, yet they can confirm Battlefront 2 in a year.
Yeah. I'm surprised they just didn't come out screaming, yeah, it's going to have single-player content in it.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. We heard everybody's pleas and their wishes and stuff. And don't worry, we're listening. Yeah, you might as well have just said, don't worry, we'll actually do single-player this time.
Yeah, that's probably why they're having massive work on it, too. They're probably going to do some kind of single-player stuff with Jade Raymond.
With Motive.
Yeah, Motive. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, it was, I'm sure maybe we'll hear something about the VR thing at Sony's conference.
Yeah, that I think that's something that a lot of people miss, because I've already seen comments from people, nobody bringing that up. They're like, "Oh, did you see that you get inside an X-wing? That's going to be in the next Battlefront." No, right before that shot, you saw the PSVR headset
Mm-hmm.
and what they're working on the screen. It's already known that they are working on a Star Wars thing for the PSVR. I think that's what that hint was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had the quick glimpse of the PSVR. You had the stuff for Battlefront. Then they talked, or they showed people from Respawn talking and doing a bunch of mocap stuff, all with lightsabers, and all Jedi fighting, Jedi Sith fighting and stuff. So I'm guessing that it is going to be whether it's an action game or whatnot, that it is going to involve Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So
good speculation.
Yeah. Which is weird, because I've heard people saying that Respawn's game is actually going to involve other people, but it looked more like Visceral's game is going to involve people outside of like the Jedi story arcs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, moving to them real quick, Visceral with their 20 seconds of footage, that's all well and good, but to not give us anything about the game other than that.
Yeah, they've been apparently working on that for quite some time, and you can only show 5 or 6 seconds of somebody walking out to, looks like some Mos Eisley maybe, like a spaceport.
Yeah, that definitely looked like Tatooine.
Yeah, so, but, again, that's like from people have called it what, sort of like Uncharted as Star Wars universe because of Amy Hennig doing it.
Yeah, tell me that clip where you see like the Star Destroyer in the sky, the TIE fighters fly over, and your character there walking out of that building and touches the wall, that doesn't just look like Nathan Drake coming out of a doorway.
I was thinking that, yeah. So I'm sure that's going to be a very similar,
Yeah, and I guess the one thing we really got with that, though, is that they did confirm it's 2018.
Yeah, so, because probably Battlefront will be around Episode 8 next year. And then maybe for the Han Solo movie they'll release this one, or I don't know. But, yeah, at least we know it's coming at some point.
And with Battlefront 2, real quick, that's a big thing. Like, and you just mentioned it. It'll come out, like next year with the movies. So you've got Rogue One this year, and then you've got Force Awakens, you got Rogue One. They've said it's going to have content from all the new movies. Are we looking at like either a late November or a December release of Battlefront 2 now? Can we pretty much confirm that?
Yeah. Yes, I would say so. To have the movie tie-in, one of the new planets or something that they're going to do in Episode 8 will probably be represented in that game.
Yeah. So a year and a half away, and they can already confirm and say what's going to be in Battlefront 2, and we can't get a goddamn thing about Battlefront 1's second DLC, third DLC, and the fourth DLC. It still says unannounced. Like they've said Bespin is number 2, Death Star's 3, and the fourth DLC nobody knows anything about yet.
Hopefully they do.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Please tell me you've at least started working on it, EA or DICE.
Yeah.
So all right. So then the end of the show was all about Battlefield 1. Okay. And real quick, I gotta jump to this. They were talking about that 64 player demo, or was it 64 on 64? I think, or however it was.
Yeah, it was.
So, big battle, whatever. Then they jump to somebody who's doing the live stream, and he's standing there with Jamie Foxx and Zac Efron. One, why the hell are they leading these teams? And two, could Zac Efron look any more bored? Literally, he asked them, like, are you guys excited to lead your teams? And Jamie Foxx, like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go. And Zac Efron, I swear to God, looked like he was looking around the goddamn room. Like, he's like, yeah. I'm trying to figure out who's signing the paycheck for me to be here, and I can't find him right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just, paid celebrity endorsement, I guess. But yeah, I wonder if he's even played a game.
Yeah.
Like, what are their Star Wars characters in this game?
I know, he's in there, he's asking, he's like, so what's this about this Mass Field 1 game that I'm about to play? Is Han Solo in here?
Yeah.
Oh. So real quick, they start off, they show some of the CG trailer. Guy comes out, talks about it some more. And then they get into talking about the features of the game. We've got destruction, which Battlefield 4 had. We can destroy everything. We can destroy all the things. But they don't really show anything.
Hmm.
And then we have dynamic weather, which is cool. Maps can be nighttime or daytime. They can have rain or fog or whatever. That's cool. All right, thank you for announcing that. We got new information. And then we have ultimate vehicles, armored train, the airship, battleship, whatever else he said is in there. Okay, that's cool. You don't see any of it though when he announces it. Like they show like the Zeppelin, and
Hmm.
that's about it. And then they get EA access early beta. Game comes out the 21st, and then you get the CG trailer in its entirety, which shows a little bit of that stuff he talked about. But what new, other than like weather, did we actually learn about
I
Battlefield
know.
1?
I was hoping they'd announce that they would have stable servers and a smooth launch. That would have been nice. But yeah, I mean, CG makes everything look nice, but
Yeah, and remember, I've made the jokes in the rant before about how Ubisoft doesn't even put up the warning. I think a lot of people miss it because the warning was only up there for a couple seconds, but it did say, in engine footage, not in game footage, in
hmm
engine footage. So
yeah,
that whole CG stuff, yeah, it was shot with the Frostbite engine and all that, but yeah, there was no actual gameplay footage.
yeah, and that game's a couple of months away. I mean,
Yeah, it's like how are they not showing off? Like I get that they were going to do their big hour-long demo, but
hmm
how can you not at least show off some of the true gameplay?
yeah,
So,
yeah. They probably, unfortunately, probably think, oh, it's Battlefield, so it'll sell, and
that
I
that's a
just
oh, go ahead.
I just hope it's a stable launch for them. I think that's the big thing. What happened with Battlefield 4? They need to make sure the launch goes smoothly, and I mean, they can show all the great CG they want, but when people buy it and you have thousands of people logging on at one time to play multiplayer, how's it going to run?
Yeah, and but I get that they want to just promote stuff, but you've actually said it. I think on about 3 of these different games, they know it's gonna sell. Should that have just been how this thing was set up? EA was it EA Play was the name of the press conference. We know you're just gonna buy our stuff
Yeah,
because they didn't show squat.
no, it was half-assed. I mean, it kind of an arrogant, like oh, we can just get away with showing 10 seconds of real game footage here because we're gonna buy it,
Yeah,
and you know
we'll
we
talk about
have
our
okay.
charities and how great we are, but we're not gonna show you anything that you're gonna give us your money for.
I mean, where's the going back to Star Wars? They could have gotten so much. I mean, Microsoft and Sony aren't till tomorrow, so they could have owned at least the next 6 hours before Bethesda of just oh my God, they showed this trailer for this new Star Wars game and it was amazing. All these new worlds just to generate hype, generate clicks on websites. But they're like, we can just half-ass it because people are going to buy it in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, and because last year they came out, they showed clips for Battlefront. They had the reveal for Titanfall. They had a little bit on Mass Effect Andromeda. But yeah, it had a little buzz, even with the fact that everybody knew that Fallout 4 was going to be revealed later that night.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, right now, I think everybody is talking more about tomorrow than they even are talking about Bethesda tonight now.
Yeah.
Like there's no attention that people are giving to EA right now.
No, they're that big. I mean, Activision doesn't even do a real presentation anymore. So maybe EA kind of did it different, did it a day early. They kind of just sitting in the catbird seat, saying, we're going to slap a Star Wars license here, a FIFA license here, and just go with it.
Yeah.
But
And going back to the Star Wars stuff, they even promoted the Old Republic and Galaxy of Heroes, the mobile game, real quick. Okay, they talked about how those are part of their great Star Wars lineup, and that they have content coming out all year. They didn't even show stuff for that. Games that are already released that they used as part of their big Star Wars, banner right now. They didn't even show anything for those.
no.
Like they showed somebody working on Galaxy of Heroes real quick, and then are like, "Oh yeah, we love updating this game," and then moved right on to I think it was Visceral or Respawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know in a few weeks I'm gonna have a great time with the Star Wars Force Awakens Lego game,
Yeah,
and that has like some original content in it. Maybe they're just pissed that they don't have that license too, and somebody else can make a Star Wars game, which is probably going to be a really good quality game.
Think about real quick all the stuff that's coming out in that game. You get the C-3PO backstory, you get some alternate views of stuff, you get some more Finn levels, different takes on how the story played out.
Yeah.
You didn't get that in a single Star Wars game that came out right before or even after Force Awakens.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the cast doing voices in the game. I mean, you got, Battlefront has, the multiplayer content, but, LEGO games have plenty of replayability, and, that's maybe where you got to go for Star Wars in the near future until...
That is sad.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way to the Lego games, because, like, the other Lego Star Wars games have been great. Most of the Lego games have been fun.
Mm-hmm.
But that's bad when, to get a good Star Wars time, you have to go to the Lego games, not to the fully licensed Star Wars games.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, just real quick, my notes were great at the end of the show, because we did the Battlefield 1 stuff, and, like, the last note for Battlefield literally was CG trailer, from before, shown in entirety, all in engine, not game footage, and then it was, not impressed, I'm bored, show sucked, thankfully I'm done typing.
I have to agree on that. I mean, it's these conferences. I mean, after what Sony did last year, I think the bar has been set really high for surprises, and we got nothing of a shock here. No shocking surprises. It was just by the numbers what we expected, and
I don't even know if it's what we expected though, because what we expected was information.
Yeah, we got the bare minimum. I mean, really, they did as little as they possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we can do a quick recap and let's find out what new information we got. Titanfall 2, we knew had multiplayer. We knew had single player. We found out it's got new Titans, new abilities, and that's it.
Got a release date, that's it. We knew it was going to be on PS4.
Yeah, so all that stuff we already knew, except for there's 6 new Titans. Madden, new commentary theme. They have new competition stuff, but okay, whatever. Mass Effect Andromeda, we already knew they were trying to find a new home. We already knew it was on the Frostbite engine. I guess we now know Asari are in there for sure. We knew Krogans were going to be in there because they had a drawing of them at one of the other shows, I think last year's E3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first shots of the female lead. So we got to see the female lead. Okay, so there's like one thing from each game so far. FIFA has a new story mode, and the Premier Managers, or some of the Premier Managers, are in it. Okay, that's all we learned new there. The EA Originals program, that's new. Star Wars, we didn't learn anything new. We knew Visceral was working on a game. We knew Respawn was working on a game. We knew the Battlefront 2 was actually coming. We knew that there's DLC for the first Battlefront. They said nothing new whatsoever. And then Battlefield 1, we knew that they had like the ultimate vehicles because we've already seen the Zeppelin and the other trailer and stuff. We just had a little bit more information. We now know that there is dynamic weather, and I'm not even going to count destruction as new because that's in Battlefield 4.
Yep.
Nothing else was new.
No, I mean the only game reveal was that indie game. That was the only new thing.
This thing went what, an hour and 15 minutes ish, and we learned 5 new things about games that we already knew about, and we learned about 1 new game.
Yep.
How in the hell do you call this a show?
Yeah. And the sad thing is, I was reading some other sites after the show, and they're kissing EA's ass because I guess they have to or they won't get access. But somebody was saying it's not bad. It was an awful.
Yeah, I watched my stream through GameSpot, and what's great is the first guy who they asked gave it a 6 out of 10, which I'm actually fine with because if you just wanted information on some of these games and to kind of see some stuff, it was okay. But then, yeah, like the next girls he was talking to both gave it 7s, and one was like, "Oh, I'm so excited! They showed so much more of like Mass Effect Andromeda than I thought they would." Why would you think that a game that comes out in like 9 months was going to show you less?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it was just so much, and a few other places. Yeah, I saw it too. People that are all hyped and excited, and I think like people didn't see you should be excited because you saw this on a computer screen. No, I should have saw a goddamn trailer.
Yeah.
I should have saw gameplay footage. I should not have to be freeze framing it to catch a quick drawing that somebody is doing in Photoshop of a character, I should be seeing that character brought to life, because there's no way this is how far back in development they are right now.
I miss the days of people coming on stage and pretend to be playing a gameplay demo.
Yeah, seriously, go back to the Kinect reveal. Give me the little girl playing with Skittles, her tiger and Kinectimals, because at least that was showing me the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was staged. Give me the Cirque du Soleil people coming back out and being weird, and show gameplay footage on the TV of like a Cirque du Soleil game. Do something.
Yeah.
Do something stupid. Konami, what was it, 2010, when they had the infamous E3 press conference where they were showing off like the exercise game and the dance game, and the wrestlers came out on stage and nobody knew what was going on because nobody could speak English. They at least showed games.
Yeah, they showed games. They, I'm really worried about Mass Effect getting delayed now after the paltry things they showed. I'm really,
like I said, I know that they're saving it for Gamescom.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if Gamescom comes out and they're like, here's one trailer, here's a little bit of info, I would say that the game doesn't come out until the end of the summer of 2017.
Yeah.
Because
it'll be exclusive to Neo and Scorpio.
Oh gosh, don't do that. Which, by the way, we'll throw it out there now. The Neo's not going to be there tomorrow. Scorpio not going to be there tomorrow. The Slim got leaked this morning.
Yep.
Yeah. So
hopefully Microsoft has got something else to show other than that.
Yeah. So that's the EA press conference, and EA, go play with yourselves.
Yeah.